The morning her mother was lowered into the ground, Maya Ellison's husband emptied their savings account. Not half, all of it. Every dollar she had worked double hospital shifts to build, every dollar she had quietly set aside for the baby they were expecting in 9 weeks, gone before the funeral flowers had even wilted. Marcus did not do it out of desperation. He did not do it out of grief. He did it because he had already booked a vacation to Cancun. And the woman sitting next to him in first class was not his wife. Maya found out standing in the hospital parking lot, still in her black dress, still carrying the folded program from her mother's service, when her debit card declined at the pharmacy trying to fill her prenatal prescription. She did not scream. She did not call him. She just stood very still in that cold lot, looked down at her swollen belly, and felt something inside her shift, not break. Shift like a foundation that takes a hit and goes deeper into the ground instead of cracking apart. What Marcus never understood, what the woman sitting beside him in that airplane seat never imagined, was that the quiet, unremarkable woman he had left standing alone in a hospital parking lot was the sole heir to something he had spent 6 years sleeping next to and never once bothered to see. Stay until the very end. Because what Maya built in the silence that followed is the kind of story that will make you rethink everything you believe about who holds the power in a room. Maya's mother, Dorothy Ellison, was not a woman who talked about money. She grew up in a 2-room house in rural Georgia, the daughter of a woman who sewed other people's clothes and a man who repaired other people's shoes. She had put herself through nursing school by working nights at a laundromat, had raised Maya alone after Maya's father left when Maya was 4, had told her daughter every single day of her life, "Don't let anybody see what you have. Build quietly. Live quietly. Let them underestimate you. It is the greatest advantage a woman can have." Dorothy had spent 41 years as a nurse. 41 years of 12-hour shifts, holidays worked, overtime taken without complaint. She lived in the same modest house for 30 years. She drove a 2007 Corolla until the transmission gave out. She clipped coupons. She never owned jewelry that looked expensive. She had also, through 41 years of methodical, invisible investing, a financial advisor nobody knew about. Accounts and structures Maya didn't fully understand until after she died, quietly accumulated $4.2 million. Every cent already designated, every document already signed, every account already titled in one name, Maya Christine Ellison. Not Maya Ellison Carter, not Marcus Carter. Her daughter's birth name, the name she had before she married a man her mother had never fully trusted. Maya had not known. Not the full picture, not the number. Dorothy had told her only this, in the last week of her life, in a voice made thin by the cancer that had been working through her lungs for 14 months. "There is a folder in the top drawer of my dresser. Don't open it until I'm gone. Don't mention it to Marcus. Promise me." Maya had promised without understanding why. She understood now. Marcus Carter was the kind of man who needed to be seen. That was the thing Maya had loved about him once, the way he walked into a room like he had already won whatever was happening in it. It had taken her years to understand that the quality she had mistaken for confidence was actually something else entirely. Something that required a constant audience, constant validation, constant proof that he was the most important thing in whatever space he occupied. She had been that proof for 6 years. She had explained away the credit cards open without telling her. The weekends where his phone stayed face down on every surface. The way he spoke about her friends, "They're not really your people, Maya. You've outgrown them," until she had, quietly and completely, stopped calling them. She had explained it all away because she had loved him, and because love, when it goes wrong, is the most effective blindfold ever made. The debit card declining was the first thing she couldn't explain away. She sat in her car in that parking lot and opened her banking app with hands that had gone completely steady. The way hands sometimes do when a body understands before a mind does that the time for trembling has passed. The time for clarity has arrived. Joint checking, $0. Joint savings, $0. The transfer history showed a single transaction. The previous afternoon, while Maya had been sitting at her mother's bedside watching the monitors go quiet, Marcus had moved every dollar they had into an account she didn't recognize. She sat with that information for 4 minutes. Then she drove to the pharmacy, paid for her prescription with the emergency credit card she had kept in her car's sun visor for 3 years, the one Marcus didn't know about, the one she couldn't have explained why she kept. And she drove home to a house that already felt different. He did not come back for 3 days. When he did, he smelled like somewhere warm. He told her the account transfer had been a banking error. He said it with the particular smoothness of a man who has said untrue things so many times they no longer feel different from true ones. She nodded. She said nothing. That night, after he was asleep, she opened her mother's dresser drawer and found the folder. The estate attorney's name was Patricia Osei. She had worked with Dorothy for 11 years and had the kind of stillness that comes from having sat across from people in the worst moments of their lives so many times that she no longer felt the need to fill silence with noise. She slid the folder across a desk made of dark wood in an office that smelled like old books and met Maya's eyes without flinching. "Your mother was very specific," Patricia said. "She wanted you to hear it directly and clearly, so I'll be direct and clear. After fees, taxes, and trust structuring costs, your inheritance is approximately $4.2 million, liquid and accessible, in your name only. Unreachable by a spouse under any marital property claim due to the trust structure your mother established 7 years ago." Maya stared at the documents on the desk. 7 years ago. Marcus and Maya had been dating for 1 year. Dorothy had already begun building the wall. "She told me," Patricia said carefully, "that she hoped she was wrong about your husband. But she said your grandmother taught her that hope is not a financial strategy." Maya looked down at her belly, at the 9 weeks of daughter growing inside her, and felt something that wasn't quite grief and wasn't quite gratitude, but lived in the place where those two things meet. She thought about the empty savings account, the Cancun hotel receipt she had found in his jacket pocket when she was taking it to the dry cleaner, the phone face down on every surface, the 6 years of small erosions she had explained away with love. Her mother had known, had watched, had said nothing, had simply built. "Where do I start?" Maya asked. Patricia slid a second document across the desk. At the top, in Dorothy's looping, deliberate handwriting, were 5 words underlined twice. "Do not move until ready." Maya gave birth to a daughter 8 weeks later. 6 pounds, 14 ounces. Her grandmother's eyes dark and level and unhurried, like someone who had already made peace with whatever room they walked into. She named her Dorothy Rose Carter. She kept the last name because changing it would have told Marcus something, and Maya was not ready for Marcus to know anything yet. Simone, her college roommate, the woman who had shown up at the hospital with overnight bags for both of them without being asked, was the only person who knew everything. Simone, who had driven Maya to Patricia's office every time. Simone, who had sat in the waiting room with the baby while the accounts were restructured and the paperwork was filed, and the quiet machinery of Dorothy's plan was set into motion. "He's getting nervous," Simone told her 4 months after Dorothy Rose was born. "He's been asking around. He found out your mother had money." Maya was feeding the baby. She did not look up. "I know," he called your Aunt Renee. "Told her you'd been acting distant since the funeral and he was worried about you." Maya looked up then. "What did Renee say?" Simone smiled for the first time in that conversation. Renee told him that in 40 years of knowing Dorothy Ellison, she had never once seen that woman make a mistake with something she loved. Maya looked back down at her daughter. kept feeding her. Not yet, she said. Marcus found out about the inheritance on a Tuesday, not from Maya. From the probate records, public and searchable, which listed the estate's gross value as part of the filing process, Patricia had quietly, correctly, legally handled in a way that revealed as little as possible for as long as possible, but not forever. Nothing is forever. He called Maya 7 times that afternoon. She answered on the 7th call. Why didn't you tell me? His voice was doing something. She recognized the particular register he used when he needed to seem calm while feeling the opposite of calm. I'm still processing my mother's death, she said. I'll have my attorney reach out to yours. She hung up before he could find the next sentence. Over the following 6 weeks, Marcus tried 4 different approaches. He tried reconciliation flowers, a card, a voicemail that used the word family 11 times in 90 seconds. He tried legal maneuvering. His attorney sent 2 letters suggesting the inheritance was a marital asset subject to division, both of which Patricia had already anticipated and structured against 7 years ago. He tried going around her, calling her aunt, her cousin, 2 of her former colleagues, presenting himself as a concerned husband trying to reach his grieving wife. And then he tried showing up. He came to the apartment, the modest, pleasant apartment Maya had rented 4 months ago in a building whose management company was owned by a holdings entity connected to Dorothy's trust in a way that would take a very determined attorney a very long time to trace. On a Wednesday evening, Maya opened the door with Dorothy Rose on her hip. Marcus looked at his daughter. Something moved across his face that might have been genuine, or might have been the performance of genuine. Maya had spent enough years watching that face that she could no longer tell the difference, and had made her peace with that. Maya, he said, we need to talk, really talk. We do, she said. My attorney will be in contact this week. She has availability Thursday. She closed the door. Dorothy Rose reached up and grabbed a fistful of her mother's hair and held on with the fierce, uncomplicated grip of a baby who knows exactly where safe is. The meeting happened on a Thursday, as promised. Marcus arrived with his attorney, a man in a good suit who had clearly reviewed the trust documents and arrived already knowing the outcome. He had the specific quietness of a professional who has learned how to lose gracefully. Marcus had not learned that yet. He sat across from Maya and tried, one final time, the voice she had once loved, warm, certain, the voice of a man who had always managed to make her feel like the difficult one for questioning him. Everything we had was built together, he said. Everything your mother had would have gone to both of us if things had been different. You know that. Maya reached into the folder in front of her and slid something across the table. A bank statement, 14 months old, showing 31 transfers out of their joint account into a routing number she had eventually traced to a travel credit card opened in the name of a woman named Priya Sahin. My mother knew, Maya said. She hired someone to document it. She didn't tell me because she wanted the protection built before I was angry. She understood that a woman who knows she's been robbed but has nowhere solid to stand is just a woman in danger. She folded her hands on the table. I have somewhere solid to stand. Marcus's attorney placed a hand on Marcus's arm. Marcus looked at the bank statement for a long time. She planned all of this, he said finally, not as an accusation, as something closer to awe. Your mother planned all of this. From the moment she met you, Maya said, she was very good at reading people. You always reminded her of someone she had once trusted too quickly. She stood, gathered Dorothy Rose from the carrier, buttoned her coat. My attorney will handle the rest. You'll receive everything you're legally entitled to, which is what you came into this marriage with. She walked out into an afternoon that was cold and clear and full of ordinary light. Dorothy Rose was asleep in the back seat. Simone had her shoes off in the passenger seat the way she always rode, and was saying nothing because Simone had always known when nothing was the right thing. Maya drove through streets that looked exactly like they always had: the same buildings, the same traffic, the same unremarkable Tuesday afternoon city, going about its unremarkable business, and felt, for the first time in as long as she could remember, entirely light. She reached into her coat pocket and took out the last thing she had found in her mother's folder: a photograph. Dorothy, at 28, young and serious and already building something invisible. On the back, in that looping handwriting: for when you need to remember. You come from women who build. Maya set the photograph on the dashboard where she could see it. Dorothy Rose stirred in the back seat and made the small, satisfied sound of a baby who is perfectly, completely warm. You are brilliant, Maya said softly to the rearview mirror. You are worthy. You are loved beyond anything that can be taken from you. Her grandmother's eyes blinked slowly in the afternoon light. That is what $4.2 million actually looked like. Not the accounts, not the trust documents, not Marcus sitting in an attorney's office finally understanding the weight of what he had thrown away. It looked like this: a woman and her daughter, and a photograph of where they came from, driving forward into a life that had always been waiting because the woman who loved them most had made absolutely sure of it. If you have ever been left with nothing by someone who should have protected you, if you have ever watched someone underestimate you and had to hold yourself very still and wait, this story was built for you. Subscribe right now and turn on every notification, because every week we bring you stories about women who were counted out and came back in ways nobody saw coming. Stories that will crack you open and put you back together stronger than before. And before you go, drop a comment and tell me, have you ever been protected by someone who loved you more than you knew? Tell me who they were. Say their name. Because every person in this comment section who ever built something quietly for someone they loved deserves to be honored out loud. They build in silence. They rise without warning. And they never, ever forget who loved them first.